is this? Tabletop Island, huh? Let's see what this is all about.
Welcome to Tabletop Island. I'm Renato, your host, and today we're going to be talking about my 1 year. So I have been on YouTube for exactly 1 year, and it's been crazy and awesome, and a whole lot of changes that I've made thanks to you guys. So I definitely want to go over a few things that I enjoyed, things that I ended up changing thanks to you guys, and just changes that I've done overall. And there's going to be a lot moving forward too. I've been pretty backed up with kind of everything going on, but I do have a lot of awesome stuff in store. So again, thank you guys so much for sticking around thus far. I do have almost the whole rest of this year planned, along with a good portion of next year. So I'm still way ahead of the game in terms of planning. Still a bunch of stuff I have to film and a lot of awesome things. I know you guys may have saw my collection video at Board Game Museum's channel with Norm. So I know there's probably a bunch of things you guys saw that you want me to review. I'll get there. I promise. You guys are just going to have to be patient with me. I kind of go in the flow of how I kind of want to release them, especially with some of the horror games. So with Halloween theme, I'm really have something special this year, so I'm excited for that. But a couple things that I want to kind of call out. There was a bunch of mess ups, a bunch of things I've changed and things that I didn't get caught out for. So I think they're kind of funny. So I wanted to go over them just a bit. One of the main things here that I changed initially when I did Fireball Island, which is why I did Fireball Island kind of to wrap up the year for my Monday videos, because I started my channel with that video. I kind of wanted to end the year with that kind of expansion review for it. However, a few things that ended up changing from that video was one, not showing the game throughout the video. I got a bunch of feedback about that early on, and I didn't really think about it. For some reason, I had an abundance of footage filmed anyway, so it was kind of like I should have just been doing that anyways, but I wasn't, and then I ended up changing it, and I started to do it more and more, and now it's a lot more frequent. Now with showing kind of the board itself, it gives people an idea as to what I'm talking about when I show the board. Now, however, I'm not going to be doing how-to videos. I did start to update it a little bit more as to what I talked about to kind of show a little bit more about the game so you can get a better understanding. And for some of the ones that are more rare and don't have reviews online, I kind of do a how-to kind of explain how to play the game. But again, I don't go into steps and I don't kind of go through the instructions, because that's not really what I'm here for. I'm here to get people excited about the game and understand what it is they would be buying if they buy the game. Not so much the rules, the technical. I talk about components and things I find important about the game, which should gear a little bit of weight as to how you view the game. But if you're looking for a how-to, BoardGameGeek.com shows an abundance of instructions for almost every game online, and a lot of the vintage ones too I'm starting to upload too, because I kind of feel like if people are interested in reading the reviews or reading the rules, I can at least upload them for a lot of the rarer games that don't have them. Now, the next thing that ended up changing, which was starting to become a lot more drastic throughout my videos, was the sound. So when I initially started the channel, I was using a Rode mic with this extension cord that was broken. I actually did that on purpose because it was making a buzzing sound, which kind of sounded like a digital glitch for a VHS tape. Now that sounded good on paper, but the problem was I had no control over it. So with that issue, it started to get louder and louder and started to kind of overshadow my voice, and I had to do some modifications to the audio to try to bring it back, and it was really annoying. One person called me out on it right before I ended up changing it. That was fine. I was right in the process of doing so. Initially, I started to boom it, and then eventually I got this pretty cool mic with the box around it. I saw a YouTuber who was reviewing toys do something like this, and I was like, man, this is going to be good, especially if I do interviews at like conventions later on. Maybe that will happen. And for Matt, let's take a look at my hair over time. It started off short, and as you start to go through, there's a progression of everything growing up until now. I know it's crazy. I do want to trim it just a little bit, but I do enjoy having the longer hair. The beard, however, definitely wanted to go with this quarantine. A couple other things too. There were some things on the channel that I said and did, and I still laugh to this day thinking about it. My favorite one to call out is going to be from Vampire Hunter. It went so unnoticed, and I was so confident when I said it. I can understand how it went unnoticed, but Listen to this.
And finally, the crypt entrance, where you will discover Dracula's sarcophagus.
This is Dracula, not the Pharaoh. I was replaying it one day and I heard it and I was like, oh my gosh, no freaking way. And it was just one of those little things. There's a bunch of different things. If you guys saw something, definitely let me know. I'm curious of all of the different things I said. I know one person tried to call me out for calling a miniature a meeple. Whatever, that's fine. Easy mess up, nothing I'm ashamed of. A few different things that ended up kind of catching my eye on the channel. There were a bunch of things that I did enjoy. One of my favorite reviews is actually It From the Pit, which sadly did not have my intro on it. I was kind of rushing to a vacation that month, so I ended up pre-recording it, pre-setting it up to or pre-editing it and scheduling it to go up, and I completely forgot the intro. I was so upset and I couldn't add it afterwards, so I just left it. But it is one of my favorite reviews, just the aesthetic of it, all of the smoke that I had to add for it, the different ways that it ended up moving and swishing around the dry ice smoke, which reminds me, the dry ice smoke wasn't something I planned on using for a lot of videos, which I didn't. I ended up starting it out with Fireball Island. In fact, here's some original clip footage of the test footage before I even started my channel. This is actually kind of a mini smoke device that we use as magicians, and it kind of looks like Volcar was kind of smoking like a cigarette almost. It was like water vapor smoke. It just didn't flow that well, so I ended up kind of working and making a makeshift smoke device with dry ice, a little bit of hot water, dry ice, drop it in the bucket, close the lid, and it comes right out of the hose. I can bend and adjust it and kind of tape it and plant it in certain areas so it flows really nicely. Very easy fix, and it worked rather well. Something that I had been trying to figure out for a while when I first started the channel. I ended up planning this for about 8 months prior to even starting this channel. A bunch of things I had to consider. One, the name. That was one of the hardest things to come up with. I knew one of the games that ended up kind of flicking that switch in my head that I kind of want to do some reviews because people don't know about these games, and that was Fireball Island. Obviously my favorite game still. Now, this obviously geared a lot of the theme for my channel. I initially didn't plan on having Volcar as kind of a character, and he's going to develop more throughout this year now. I'm going to start adding kind of an arching story. You'll see more coming soon. There's a lot planned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing too that I wanted to consider was I wanted it to be more general. So initially the name for the channel was going to be Draw Phase. I was going to have kind of a hand peeling out of a deck, almost like a Yu-Gi-Oh kind of peeling thing. I don't know. It was an idea that I had, especially at the time. The main abundance of games that I had involved cards, but I figured later down the road that would not be the case, so I didn't want to constrain myself to that. Thought later it could be a series on the channel. That's too much work. It didn't make any sense to do so I completely cut that out. I ended up seeing Will Wheaton's YouTube channel for Tabletop, and I was like, man, that is a good term. And I noticed all of the YouTubers were starting to use the term tabletop. I was like, tabletop games? I was like, I've never heard of that term before. I was used to board games, so that was kind of interesting. I loved that kind of word. And then I thought about Fireball Island. Was sitting down one day, I was like, yo, Tabletop Island would be kind of cool, because then I could have an island theme, can make these really cool clouds, which I will be doing actually kind of some how-tos on how to make it, because these do glow, much like you would see for the Halloween kind of month that I did last year. But there's a very easier method to make these, and it's a lot safer. I've looked at a bunch of videos online on how to make them, and none of them were sufficient. A lot of them involved hot glue, which you had to kind of move quick, and you didn't really have a lot of time to form it the way that you wanted to, because hot glue dries quick. So I have a really cool video for that, but there were so many things, so many factors I needed to consider. One, I could easily paint a background here and have it as a solid image. The reason why I have it as a cloth was because a lot of 80s and 90s videos, whenever they did like interviews and things kind of like this, there was always a cloth background, and a lot of times it was a black background with a crinkle in it, which used to upset me so much, especially in a lot of Magic videos that I remember seeing back in the day. So I ended up kind of taking that and running with it, and I thought it was kind of funny. When I first did my Fireball Island review, when I ended up having it blurred in the background, it kind of created these nice ripples, so I really liked it, so I kept it, and I'm definitely keeping it still. I'm still building my 3D island. That's been a lot more of a process, but I'm trying to get extremely detailed with it. I cannot wait to show you a big progress that I've done on that so far, and that's going to really kind of kick off. I'm not even going to give you a date because I tried to give myself a date before and I was way off. One of the other things that I had to consider was I going to have an aesthetic? Was I going to wear just regular clothes? Was I going to have like certain shirts that says stuff about board games? And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, if I am not a cartoon character with a solid kind of outfit for each video, it's going to get too complicated and I'm going to worry about, oh no, I wore this shirt last review and it's going to be too much, and I didn't even want to consider that, especially if there's going to be weeks where I just bang out like 5 reviews in one day. So that wasn't really going to work for me. So I thought, you know what, Island, let's get a Hawaiian shirt and let's get this working. But if I'm going to have the VHS aesthetic, it needs to have bright colors. So it was either going to be this pink color or it was going to be teal. And I did try to find a teal one because I really wanted one, but it was fine. I ended up finding this and I liked it. One thing you're going to notice too, a lot of people ask me, do you just wear this one shirt in every video? I actually have about now 5 of these shirts, 5 or 6 of these shirts now. It's going to be different. So with this specific one that I use on my videos, yes, I wash this shirt and I wear it quite often, or I wear it throughout all these videos. But if you look at some of my like live streams and stuff like that I did with Matt Wilkins' channel, and also my PAX Unplugged kind of pan through, and you'll see like some images of me there. I actually wear a different shirt, looks almost identical to this. You couldn't tell unless I really told you. It's not really something that you focus on anyway because it's a pink shirt and it's Hawaiian. All right, it had the leaf and everything. It looks really good, but I use those for like conventions and stuff because I don't want to get this one dirty. Yeah. Other thing that I needed to consider was my style. Now, I did already know I was going to do the VHS style. Again, it's one of my favorite styles of all time. It actually just is my favorite style of all time. What am I talking about? But you will see a video called VHS Tape if you're interested in understanding kind of more of the background as to why it is my favorite and kind of the thought process as to where that was headed, along with the VHS tape that I used for the video, which I created the cover for. I knew I was going to be doing that after I realized, all right, if I'm going to do a VHS tape video or kind of review channel, I need there to be a reason why I'm doing so. So in the intro itself, I was like, it'd be interesting if I was trapped on an island, I dug up a tape and I played the tape, and I ended up getting it ended up being a review, and I was like, oh, that would be interesting, and maybe not so much trapped on an island, maybe I'm like on a beach or I visit an island and then I go to a kind of a VHS player and I play it, make sure there's a lot of games around it, all that fun stuff. And I ended up doing that. It worked really well. I had a music producer kind of produce some music for me, and then that came to life rather quickly. I ended up getting kind of a big box, putting a bunch of sand in it and just digging it up that way. I did not go to a real beach or anything like that. I needed to make sure the shot was clean, and carrying all the studio lighting and stuff like that on a beach would have been really annoying. Possible, but annoying. What was I going to do to make myself stand out or be different than what I saw on YouTube? And that was where the commercial idea lied. I thought about it for a while because I initially wasn't going to do a channel because I was like, I just don't want to be another head floating on YouTube because I have a bunch of games and I like them. While I don't mind people that do that, for me, it felt like I would be wasting my time doing so I didn't really want to do that. I wanted it to be unique and something I could have fun with. When I looked around at some like board game commercials, when I was looking up some games like It From the Pit and things like that, I noticed that there had some really awesome commercials, but they don't do them anymore. It actually got overshadowed by video games, and you'll see commercials for video games, but you will not see board game commercials unless it's a Hasbro kind of toy-ish game that they're selling you or something along those lines. Or if it's a Kickstarter video where they're trying to sell you the game, but outside of that, there's no real commercials, no exciting, no screaming kids going, oh my god, this is awesome. But so I did want to start to do that, and I tried to come up with a bunch of different crazy ways. I've experimented, things I failed at, things I've enjoyed, things that I'm kind of trying to progress and evolve even more, such as the videos where I'm yelling to the top of my lungs, like the original Fireball Island video. That is the one video where I actually wrote out a script by hand. Typically I have it digitally set up and I kind of go through it. This one was kind of the birth of everything. I was saying, you know what, I'm gonna do a commercial, but how would I do it? And I was trying to think of, all right, am I gonna yell? Am I gonna be super excited? Like, oh man, look at this action part. And I didn't know how I was gonna do it. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna set up the board game. I'm gonna get a piece of pen and a piece of paper, and I'm just gonna start saying stuff. And I'll tell you what, when I started to do that, that was the point where I knew exactly what I was going to do with each of my videos. I sat there and I was like, all right, so you start off with a helicopter. So I was moving it around, flying around. I was like, flying in on Fireball Island, we have Volcar. Volcar is going to be the villain in this game, while you as explorers use action cards to race through and collect treasure, but be careful what card you play. And I was like, yeah, this was just coming out of nowhere. I can swear to you on everything, there was nothing where I just sat there trying to intricately write all this stuff. You'll see things that I crossed out on that page, mainly because I started to reuse a lot of words. So I didn't want to do too much of that. But yeah, it was just something that came out on the spur, just off the top of my head. And I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And then other ones where like Dragoon ended up being my second review. I was like, what about this game is funny? What is fun? What did I enjoy? What doesn't make sense? And I want to kind of highlight that. And this specific one, I was mostly like, okay, so these dragons are stealing gold or claiming gold from villages. So they're stealing gold from the villagers, or maybe they're stealing gold back because the villagers robbed them. Because I saw a picture of like a villager with kind of money and they look like a thief, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a skit where they're upset about kind of them getting their gold stolen, so they decide to go back and take it. So they feel like they need to explain themselves as to why they're doing it. So it was kind of a skit that way. There was just a bunch of different ideas that started to flow, and I started to do a bunch of different things, such as songs, some better than others, but I had a lot of fun doing all of them. So much has evolved and so many things I'm still going to experiment with. I look at a lot of channels for a lot of 80s and 90s commercials, and I get ideas at that sometimes, but then other times I'm just like thinking of random things, such as Medium. When I decided to do the Miss Cleo, I don't know if people really realize that was kind of what I was going for, but I almost replicated a TV ad for Miss Cleo, where she was a video psychic, or a TV psychic, if you guys were familiar, where you called in, phoned in. A big story on her. If you're interested in that, look that up. It's pretty cool. Jaws video was one I was extremely proud of. I ended up yelling to the top of my lungs in that video. It may not sound it because obviously I had adjusted the levels and things like that, but I lost my voice after that. Just different songs that I did were just absolutely fun, like Dungeon Dice. I did a Hello by Adele remix, and just one of my favorite scripts that I've ever written for a commercial would probably be the Slime Monster game. And I feel like while it did get a good amount of views, I definitely can't complain on that, especially for vintage. It's still kind of tricky to understand where the audience lies and how to reach them. One of the lines that I said in it was, and if he knocks you down, you go back to the high school where hopefully you learn your lesson. I was like, what? High school lesson? Oh, that was perfect. Little things that I can appreciate for what I do on the channel. But there's so many different things I get excited about, things that I've done on the channel. Such as like the Grape Escape, where I do kind of a slasher kind of video, where I do kind of a history video talking about like Ghost Story with like Betrayal House on the Hill. Things such as Flick 'em Up, which is also one of my favorite reviews, just because of how I set up the music, and the pacing of the video was just really exciting, talking the difference between Flick 'em Up and Flick 'em Up Dead of Winter. So that was a really fun review to do. The other ones that I can really call attention to would involve, obviously, It from the Pit was probably one of my favorite ones, with kind of the It kind of swishing around the smoke. Just that aesthetic was so nice. I enjoyed the idea behind Forbidden Sky. There's so many different things that I can say I enjoyed in terms of experimenting, whether it's with song, things like that. And again, I'm still going to keep doing it. Tower of the Wizard King, doing like kind of a Dateline thing, because I read some of the cards and started to laugh at like how they sounded like dating profiles. There's just so much and so much more that I still continue to do. Yeah, I decided to kind of take ideas from different things, and they all came out of absolutely nowhere, and they still do, and I very much enjoy it. And that's kind of the route I'm still going to continue. But that was where I realized that was something different, doing these commercials rather than kind of going through how to show the game on the table. be behind a Calyx shelf with all my games, which I didn't have at the time. Things that I don't mind, but things that I didn't want to do for myself if I wanted to kind of either one, stand out, or two, just feel like I'm doing something unique and just something more fun for me, especially to kind of hone on my video production skills, which I have all this awesome equipment. Why not use it? And this was a way to utilize kind of making skits and stuff like that without needing actors. That was the important thing. I needed to be able to do this channel entirely by myself. I needed no extra heads, no things like that. And there's a few things I have planned later with actors and doing like that whole kids getting excited in 90s commercial. I do have some of those planned, but for the overall thing for my channel, if I did that, there's not going to be a lot of videos that I could do weekly because I would involve other people's times and that would just be too much work for what it's worth. So I figured I would find a way to do it on my own, which I did, and that gave birth to Tabletop Island. It's been a lot of fun, and honestly, there's so many things that I still plan on doing for the channel. I can't even tell you because it's just going to be something I'm going to be asked about for a while because I don't know when it's going to happen. And I'm already sad I talked about the 3D Island, and I'm way far from completion, but it will get done, and there's a few different times where I'll have a lot of time to work on it, which will be nice. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what did you enjoy about this channel the most? What are things that you enjoyed that I changed, or just things that you think I should still change? One of the first pieces of feedback I got on the channel too was to make my videos longer. That is one thing I will not be doing. I will not be making videos that are 10 to 20 minutes long because people's attention span aren't that big and broad, and while I think it makes sense if I was doing a how-to video and really diving into the mechanics of the board game, but for me to just do talks like this, it does not make sense at all. It would honestly just be more redundancy and just a bunch of filler things that aren't actually important to talk about. I feel like I would highlight certain points, do the funny commercial, and that's that. I already get flack sometimes when they're over a minute, and I try not to ever make it over a minute, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. I'm still experimenting, and I do still enjoy doing that. My ending video bit, I didn't really have anything for the end of my video, and I wasn't sure how I was going to close out. Was I just going to be me and Volcar having like a conversation talking about like, yo, these guys should subscribe, blah blah blah, or how have you been today, or something along those lines, like a therapy session. But then I thought it doesn't really flow with the VHS thing, so a friend of mine was like, what if it was just like the end bit of a VHS tape where it's like stop, play, or whatever? And I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. Added my social media links, and boom. So a bunch of little things that I get from people, or just different inspirations I get from a bunch of different things, and they work so well. I'm happy that they come like that. But that's honestly all I have for you guys today. Again, thank you so much for tuning in for this long. I know it's been an awesome year, and I'm going to continue to do fun, awesome, wacky things. So I'm excited to have you guys along for the ride. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you're interested in notifications, there is a bell up there somewhere. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate any feedback. I'm trying to make these videos more and more outrageous, and with your guys' help, I have been doing so. Monday, regular board game reviews. Wednesday, weekly update / talks. And then on Fridays, my vintage board game reviews. That is all I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys next time.